Right now, I'd say my confidence level, Warriors number one. I'm not that confident. It just almost feels too good to be true. They also don't really feel like the fourth team. Can you jump, though, from like the 6% to then I guess you don't have to be one, right? Because the Memphis Grizzlies ended up at two. Like you don't necessarily just because you get the top four doesn't mean you necessarily have to be one. Correct?
Yeah.
Like
Who
the
are you talking
Bulls,
about?
the
Oh,
Bulls
right.
don't have to be one or two.
No,
They
they're
could
just
be
in the
four.
top four. Yeah.
They've just jumped. So part of
They've
it,
jumped.
it used to be. Oh, so it used to be the top three. Then they've changed the rules, anti-tanking, top four.
Right.
Warriors, worst odds, but because anti-tanking, and let's face it, they tanked. Instead of being top three only, they're now top five, which, say what you want, is kind of there's a big difference between knowing the worst you could fall is three and the worst you can fall is five. That's multiple players.
Yeah. Because last year, remember, was a two-player draft. Everybody knew it going in. New Orleans and Memphis each had a 6% chance of the number one pick, and they went 1 and 2.
That's where I'm saying, like, so those teams are not guaranteed to be 1 and 2.
No.
Not necessarily. They're just guaranteed to be in the top four. Then do they necessarily one thing I've always been confused on this, you don't redo the odds with that group. That it was just picked to begin with.
Right.
They just happened to get picked out of their slot.
That's right. Yep.
This is fucking pretty entertaining.
By the way,
actually.
Isn't the lottery one? It's one of the great all-time things in all of sports is the lottery, and that's why I say the show's usually an hour. This year it's 30, so 30 means you really cut down the lottery portion. They do not milk this thing enough.
I said the NFL doesn't need this. It would add some drama, right?
Yeah, it'd be wrong, but it would add incredible. It'd be fantastic.
But is it wrong? We don't say that for the NBA. We love it.
That's
what's
true.
the difference?
Yeah, I don't know. It
I
feels
guess
like
the main difference is there's legitimate tanking in the NBA.
nobody
There's
tanks.
not really.
No. I mean, even last year we thought the Dolphins and the Jags, and they struggled. The Jags just were bad, but
the Dolphins
won
ended up
football
5,
games.
right? I mean,
Right, but we thought going into the year they were going to tank.
The Warriors legitimately actively tried to lose. Like they won't even lie about that, right?
Yeah,
like
the Warriors. The Warriors were set up. It was just like, well, it was almost too easy to tank, right? Malpractice not to. They were so bad.
Very, very true. See, I think they had to speed it up, Guy.
I think you might be right. They are not. This is one of the great events in sports. Like entire futures are a flip of a coin. It's a lottery. And
in fairness to the league,
they don't milk it.
In fairness to the league, typically when the lottery happens, the playoffs are normal times, right? They're doing like 7 games a day. I mean,
how about Steph and D'Angelo Russell on this thing?
Who's the skinny white guy wearing a Bulls polo?
New head of the Bulls operation.
Do you have
Bulls
any?
Got 4.
So the Warriors are top 3.
I like this setup.
Is this the Warriors? You think?
No.
Oh! This is already a win for the Warriors, right?
Oh.
That's still pretty good.
Not bad.
I didn't have a great feeling they were going to be top 3. Well, 2's.
So you think they should still be happy with that?
Yeah, I think
D'Angelo.
I think
if you had told me, if you were the Warriors, right, and you had said yesterday you're going to get the second pick, do you want to take the second pick or do you want to roll the dice?
100%. You take the second pick.
Yeah,
I think you take, because last year you saw with the Knicks, you just saw with the Knicks again this year. You just take it. You can't. The odds aren't great, right? You were telling me, like, you go flip a coin, right? 50-50 odds. They were not even. What were the Warriors?
14% number one pick.
And it used to be 25%. Right. So it used to be a quarter, and it basically almost got cut in half. I think you would, if you said Joe Lacob, number 2 or roll the dice, you would have been insane to not take it. Because what's the difference, right? There's a big difference between
just
2 and
online,
5.
just Twitter narrative, just how much you can tweak
having
people.
The one pick school.
But I did you notice? Were you watching at the very beginning of this broadcast? The number one, like they started the show with, are the Golden State Warriors going to end up with a top pick? Like, here's a franchise that's not rebuilding. Are they going to get the top pick? Like, that is the biggest story in this whole thing. So them getting the second overall pick, I think, is the biggest story in this whole thing.
Well, I do think that you probably understand at least have a better idea who the Timberwolves are going to take number 1 overall. Like, they're more likely to take a wing guy, right? They already have their big. So you would say James Wiseman probably not going number 1 overall, right? If they keep the pick.
Right.
I guess they could trade it, but Would they trade it? Who knows?
Well, I mean, I know people think that this draft could see a lot of trades. Could see a lot of trades, but I don't know. I don't know how many buyers there are going to be other than a team or two that has a specific need.
I think the NFL does a mutt. You're right. You don't have, like, my heart wasn't beating fast enough because they're going so fast. You don't have enough. Last year, they milked it because, remember, it was an hour-long broadcast. The Knicks, it was slow. It was like a slow burn, and then they opened it up, and it was the Knicks not in the top two. This one, he just kept fucking grabbing the things and flipping them open. It was like, geez, Louise. Isn't that Silver's, that's like the assistant commissioner, right? I think his last name's, I don't even know his last name, but.
Who are you talking about?
The Asian guy that's always does a second round for the NBA. You know who I'm talking about? The guy that just flipped all the cards.
Oh,
right?
Mark Tatum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's his name? Mark Tatum?
Mark Tatum, yeah.
The guy that was just flipping cards? Mark Tatum?
Yeah, Mark Tatum.
He's been doing it forever, right? The second round.
Yeah.
It feels like if Silver ever retired, he's just the next commissioner. It's a great part about being a second in command. You just work your way up. You're just, I'm next in line. Because you can't just like hire the CEO of like Goldman Sachs. You have too many bodies buried, like in a league. It's just so insulated. You're just guaranteed to get hired from within. I mean, every commissioner in recent memory, Goodell, Manfred, Silver, they ain't going on some national search, guy.
No.
I mean,
They want to. Well, it's all. What do we always say when somebody gets the job? It's like, well, he knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah,
That's always what
literally, they do, and it's a lot of money on the line.
Wow,
That
that's
happens
awesome.
quick.
I mean, that's pretty great. Real quick, philosophy: draft the player that helps you the most today if you're the Warriors, or draft just the player with the best, just the guy that could be the best player the guy you think could become the best player. Or the guy you're like, we can get 15 minutes from him this year, and maybe he can help us win a championship.
I thought about this in the shower, actually. Swore I'd do some of my best thinking. Typically, when you draft really high, right, your team sucks. And I think a lot of NBA players, if they could have started just on like a healthy team, and when I say healthy team, just you don't need to be some dynasty, just a successful team that's going to win some games, like 45-plus games, would probably have a chance to succeed, right? It's why a lot of guys that get drafted by the Spurs just become good NBA players. Like people often say like the Spurs are always hitting on like 17. They're not like they only found one Kawhi, but they found a lot of guys that just play. Why? Because you get there, high level, organization people play. Same thing with the Patriots. Unlike the Timberwolves, like more than likely whoever they draft is going to fail. Now, he might put up stats or whatever, but they're going to lose, and they're going to suck, and he's going to be miserable. Whoever gets drafted by the Warriors, think of like Tatum and Jaylen Brown that just went to Boston, and they just flourish. And Jaylen Brown, more than Tatum, Tatum went to Duke. Jaylen Brown was pretty big question mark coming out of Cal. I mean, really talented, big recruit or whatever. He has turned into a guy like, I wouldn't call him like a superstar, but he's a damn good player. Like he's the clear number 2 on a team.
The pick was a hit.
Like a stand-up triple. If Tatum's a home run,
it's just a hit. You nailed it. You nailed the pick.
I think you just take whoever you like the most, and you go, he will excel here.
Yeah,
when you factor in fit and talent, how's a guy going to fail around Steph and Clay, guy?
Yeah, I think you take the guy that you think is the best player. Period. Not the guy that helps you most immediately, even if his to me, you start trying to play that game where it's like, well, he helps us the earliest. He might not have the biggest upside. It's like trying to take a 70% golf swing where you're always just like, I should just pick the right club and taken a full swing. Just take the guy that you think can be the best player. Don't try to finesse it too much, and you'll fit him in.
What if the pushback is this? Because I was also thinking that you go, okay, we think Wiseman's the best player, but look at the league. It's gotten much smaller, right? And then you'd go recent memory. They don't totally parallel each other, but the Bagley situation, who they took a guy that was freaky talented.
I would probably argue Ayton was the guy that, he was the big man. He was the first big man that went in that draft.
Yeah, but he's a true center. I think Bagley's probably, Wiseman, at least just YouTube scouting, feels like a little more of a run and gun. Kind of like more Boschy.
He's like 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan. He's
okay,
thick.
That's fair.
Now he's only played 60 minutes of basketball, so
the league's just gotten smaller. Like, is there a fit issue? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fair question. I'm just saying, whoever you guys think is the best player, I would take that guy. Easy to talk in philosophy and not in specifics, but
I think you also and this is why in the NFL having draft picks is so important, right? Because you get guys on cost-controlled assets. Like they do need to get a guy that you go, you know what? This guy has a chance to be an all-star in a couple years.
Yeah.
Like part of why the Celtics have been such a great story. They have these guys on cheap contracts that are making all-star games. Like the Warriors have 4 guys that account for, last time I checked, a lot of money. You eventually, like, who's the next star to trade for? I would try to, like, have the next wave of guys coming up that are cheap. And you have the Timberwolves. Like, you know the best part about knowing the Timberwolves got the number 1 overall pick?
That is going to get wasted.
How are they going to be any good, guy?
Yeah, they're not coming for the Warriors crown?
Yeah, I mean, they got
Actually,
their pick.
Weren't the Timberwolves coming for the Warriors crown like 3 years ago? Didn't we decide? Didn't everyone think that was going to happen?
Oh, and Wiggins, Towns, and when what's his name showed up, Thibs.
Yeah,
that didn't go happen that well though for them, huh?
No. All right, this part's fun.